Hey everybody, welcome to Pale in Comparison, a proud member of the Doof Network. In this podcast, my sister uses her knowledge of the Otherverse to take a look at Pact, Wildbow's most reflective work, and I try to not give away any spoilers. I'm Jenny, and Malia convinced me to read Worm.
I'm Malia, and Jenny convinced me to read everything else. This episode, we are covering Malfeasance, Chapter 11.11, and Histories, Arc 11. Before we get into that, however, I'd like to issue a spoiler warning. This podcast is filled with pale spoilers. If you don't know if Avery and Nora break up, or if Lucy ever spends time with Wallace again, and don't want us to tell you, stop now, read Pale, and come back to this podcast. As for Pact, there'll be full spoilers through the chapters we are covering.
I feel like the funny thing about that one Pale thing is it definitely makes it sound like Avery and Nora break up. Like the way you say that. It's like, just because it's so specific, you know?
We don't know.
It's just like
if Wallace will ever be mentioned in the story again, which I find funny.
Yeah, that is kind of funny, but it just makes it sound like, you know, it's just something very specific that you're like, oh, well, I wouldn't have thought that they would break up, except that you literally just said that, so I'm suspicious now. You know,
don't be suspicious.
Like, oh, like, you know, if you don't want to know if I don't know, like Verona's grandfather died in 2018 in March from a heart attack when he was reading the paper, you know.
See, we don't know.
Yeah, but it's just so specific.
It's not that specific.
I know, it just feels specific-esque, I guess.
Okay.
All right.
Well, if I had said stay together, if Avery and Nora stay together, does that feel less specific?
No. Because then that makes it seem like they broke up for sure, and maybe or they're super rocky, and maybe they'll stay together. Maybe there's a chance. So
I mean, they are kind of rocky right now.
Well, thanks for telling everybody that.
Sorry, everyone.
I'm Leah. It's okay.
Okay.
Anyone who listens to this knows that there are spoilers. I just think it's kind of funny because it's a little specific. Just a little specific.
I almost make it think the whole Wallace thing sounds more ominous. Like, ever spends time with Wallace again. Anyway.
Yeah, maybe. That's true. I mean, it's all right. I'm just being a critic. It's okay. All right. We're gonna do a quick chapter summary. Eva taunts Blake. She then works on clouding the water, and Blake is forced upstairs to regroup with Peter. Andy and Eva argue about sheets and other things. Blake tells the Thorburns to hit the breaker, tricking Andy and Eva that the lights went out so that they don't actually, like, you know, cut the power literally. Yeah. Peter knocks Andy out and pisses off Eva. And then Eva and Blake come to a reluctant truce. Then we have a Midge, Corvidae, and Green Eyes interlude. Woo! What did you think of these chapters, Malia?
Yeah, the first chapter was like really exciting and dramatic and kind of like, oh god, and then it all seems to have sort of worked out in a way.
It's all magical. Kind of.
And then the interlude was just like really disturbing and upsetting in many ways.
Yeah. I know it's kind of lazy for me to just like summarize it by saying there's an interlude, but
no. We don't need to get into the details.
No. It's only a podcast about I'll let you get into the details. All right, so we start by Eva trying to freak Blake out and at least pissing him off.
Yeah. One thing, Blake's sort of running down exactly how fucked this house is and mentions that Callan's in the couch. And I was like, oh my god, I hope someone got Callan out of the couch. And then, like, the nice thing about reading these two chapters together was at the end of next chapter, he mentions that one of the innocents is in the bedroom, and I hope that's Callan. I hope they got Callan out of the couch. Because I might not have noticed it if we hadn't read these back to back like this.
That's true.
Which is not the most important part of this section, but still, like, imagine being in a couch. Like, oh my god.
It's true. It'd be pretty traumatic.
Yeah, I'm also allergic to, like, pillows and shit. And so just thinking about, like, having, like, an old couch mattress pressed up against my face, like, makes my face start, like, swelling up. Like,
Just thinking about
Just
it.
thinking about it.
Just thinking about
my
it.
eyes are
She's
swelling.
actually gotten more swollen just
And
talking.
my lips are itching. It's awful.
Wow. That's a pretty bad reaction if you just have to think about it and you start having physical manifestations. It's pretty bad.
Yeah. But yeah, so we don't know where Peter is. We don't know what's going on. Blake's like, and then Evan's there, and he's like, oh, look, it's Eva. Eva calls him Bloody Marv, which was pretty funny, because it's one letter off from Mary, and he really is like a Bloody Mary at this point. He's a scary mirror dweller who tries to kill you. So that's fun, especially thinking about Rose and Mary and stuff at the beginning of the story, or like toward the beginning, and how like Blake just is that now.
You know, this is very random, but I was just wondering as you were saying that, I'm like, what is considered the male equivalent of Mary? And a quick Google search says Marion or Marius or Mario may be used as masculine equivalents.
Because I feel like Marion is also a woman's name, but that's
I
cool.
think it's one of those that can probably be either one. But
Right. Mario is cool, and also they're both cool.
Bloody Mario.
Bloody Mario.
It's a new video game like
He
idea.
is red. Like, he does wear red. It's to hide the stains.
It's hide the blood stains. Yeah.
Yeah.
No other reason. And what is Luigi then? He's green.
He has green blood. He's
What?
What's that? Like, there's some alien or something that has green blood. Is it Predator?
I feel like
I
there's a
don't remember.
bunch that probably.
Yeah.
I've had alien green blood. Apparently the
Yeah.
X-Files, which I honestly haven't seen.
Me neither.
I have to admit. I know it's a
Maybe
classic,
Luigi is the reflection of Mario, and so they're
So he, like-
opposite, you know?
Okay, so like green is life.
Arbitrum severed them. Yeah, and so like Luigi is
He
not gonna try to murder you horribly.
So he like grows. He's just like has a green thumb and like can heal and like grow shit. And Mario's gonna just murder the shit out of you, which makes it really ominous that he's always going after Peach. So maybe Donkey Kong or whoever, not Donkey Kong. Yeah, Donkey Kong.
It was Donkey Kong, yeah.
It is Donkey Kong. Or whatever. Like Bowser or whatever. Bad guy is actually trying to save her from this crazy like murderer guy.
Right. I thought of something else that I actually think is like even funnier. So what if Luigi is like doing the same thing Mario does, but Luigi is red-green colorblind? So Luigi thinks that he's covering up the bloodstains. And he's not.
Well,
This reminds me of a Tangled quote where
what?
he's got blood in his mustache. Blondie, tell him he's got blood in his mustache. Or look at the blood in his mustache. Because they have
Wow.
mustaches.
I'm gonna
blood
let
in them.
you go with the colorblind idea. I'm gonna go with the like Luigi is bringing life because
The good side.
I feel
yeah,
like
this is
I gotta
more
have someone be that
hopeful.
on the lookout for Peach. Although,
Yeah.
and then they're taking magic mushrooms, so that's just mess, right? Like,
It's just
Yeah.
bad all around. Don't do drugs, kids.
yeah. I mean, I guess he's depressed. He's a plumber, not doing that well. Even though plumbers can make a lot of money, but he's like not a good plumber. He just kind of sucks at his job. Obviously,
Do we know that?
Well, how
Why
much
is it-
how can you be good if you're constantly like you're never doing plumbing? He's
there's
obviously
pipes all
not
over
ever
the
doing
Mushroom
it.
Kingdom. Like, he's got it locked down.
Does it ever look like he's maintaining
There's
the
just
pipes?
Pipes everywhere.
We should have a Mario game where he has to go and like maintain
has
the
to plumb.
pipes that he's jumping through all the time.
Maybe there is something like that.
'Cause
There's a lot of
frankly,
Mario
if
games.
he's jumping through them, he can't be maintaining them very well because there's no water or anything that's actually going through them, right?
Well, maybe they're like mom's like vacuum thing that you named really
The
well.
food tube
the,
or
the snack vac.
snack vac, yeah,
Yeah, they're the Mario tube.
the Mario tube.
They're the
So-
tube like the tube. In London.
Like Mind the Gap, except like you're gonna jump into the gap.
Mind the serial murderer.
Mind the serial murder. It's like no one uses it anymore. 'Cause it's like There's only like, some random bad guy things who obviously can't get out of there. They're not really bad guys. They're just innocent victims that got stuck down there, and Mario's killing them all. And basically it's self-defense.
Oh my God.
Every time Mario gets killed by something, it's just in self-defense because they're minding their own business, and he's just trying to come through and stomp on everyone's heads.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I never thought about it like that before, but it's dark.
Yeah.
Dang. Thank goodness for Luigi, who also is, but I don't know. It's kind of doing the same thing, but I'm still believing that it's opposite. I believe it's opposite because it makes me feel better. But at least there's a chance. There's a chance that Princess Peach can, maybe be saved by the green guy instead of the creepy murderer guy.
Before we go back to Pact, shout out to our Blessed Mother for being possibly the only person it's the only name I can think of that like has a male version of it as opposed to like having a female version, right? Like I think Patricia is like the female version of Patrick, but I don't think Maria is the female version of Mario. I think Mario is the male version of Maria. Like I think we got Maria, and then people were like, she's so cool, let's name men after her.
Wait, are you talking about Bloody Mary?
No, I'm talking about Mary, Mother of God.
I thought you were talking about our mother.
No.
I was really confused. I was like, what are you talking about?
Our Blessed Mother. Yeah. We all know that Mario is the female version of
Mother.
Cheryl.
And I was waiting to you say something about Cheryl, and I was like, okay, I'm not getting the Maria.
Cheryl-o.
Because Cheryl-o.
Cheryl-o.
Okay, I'm gonna say no, and I'll, you guys, if you think that's a good name for your son, just no.
Cheryl-o.
No.
Sherilyn.
No. That's.
By the way, it's our mom's birthday, and
it is.
I don't know. It'd be cool if people like said something nice. I thought about this a while, like last week, and then I was like, I don't know what to ask people to do. But just if you like say something nice to our mom in the Discord, we'll like.
I'm gonna put that as our discussion question. Wish our mom a happy birthday. And then if we have another discussion question, I'll add that. But you guys have to wish our mom a happy birthday.
Please wish. Yeah, it's a big birthday. I don't know if we can be like, she's this old, but
I don't know if we should. Maybe not. But
it doesn't end in like a 2 or a 7, you know? You know what I'm saying?
I know. It's a 3.
No, it's not. Okay.
I mean, in Pact and Pale, that 3 is a pretty big number, Malia. I mean, so is 7 though, but okay. Well, let's remember that, and let's go back to our story.
Yes. So speaking of names, Blake doesn't just impulsively be like, my name is Blake for like possibly the first time, and I'm proud of him. I don't know what she could have done with it, but it's probably a good idea to just not.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is kind of upsetting. Blake's narration keeps getting. I don't know if part of it is when I'm reading them the second time to like do my notes, I'm listening to the audiobook, and he just does such a like intense, like Batman-y kind of voice for Blake. And I don't know if just the guy, like Speechuk's voice is like kind of deeper and stuff. And so I don't know if it's partly that he's just like, I'm intense, like, you know, like, or if Blake is just becoming more and more like desensitized because he's like not human anymore. But I'm like worried about him, obviously. Okay.
It's fair.
Just thought I'd say that I'm worried.
All right. Noted.
But yeah, so we get that Blake's worried about Peter because Andy is scary, but he feels like he can't just leave Eva to run around the house, and she sort of solves that by, oh, well, that's the next section, just kidding. She decides to just, like, mentally torture Blake by being like, we're horrifyingly murdering and torturing your friends. And it's unnerving in this story in a way because we're so used to people not being able to lie. And so having a character who can, but you're so used to like the things people are saying being like some version of the truth, it just hits harder in a way. But also there's that doubt, you know?
Especially for someone who like you totally believe would do that, you know?
Right. And just she's like, oh, I always wanted to know if it sucked being bound. And Blake's like, I don't know, because he's like being honest, he doesn't know, but also like fucking duh. Like, of course it does. And like she's just like tormenting him. But
She's trying to.
yeah. I wonder if it sucks like being shoved into an inanimate object and being left there for thousands of years. No, I think that'd be great. Like, what?
Yeah. Get to take a really long nap and just,
Yeah, focus on you.
Yeah.
Self-improvement. Ugh. But yeah, and then she mentions that thing about how like the Mayans believe that the world used to be like chaos and like order was imposed on it. And this reminds me of something that I didn't go look up and maybe should have. I think maybe Faisal was talking about the abyss as chaos, not as nothingness. And this is a kind of thread that keeps coming up in the story about entropy, about chaos, about the end of things, about how the demons will win. And it feels important, and even if like just thematically important, and I feel like I should be able to be like, aha, Blake is the whatever, and that means that this will happen, and this is the theme. Because I mean, so Blake does go down into the chaos, arguably like prehistorical, whatever the fuck, and be changed by that, and he was like almost eaten by a abyss demon, and he's in the abyss and the void, and I don't know. This was unhelpful. But at least people know that maybe I found a clue.
You found a clue, and that's what really matters.
Yeah. In law school exams, you have to be able to spot the issues so that you can like talk about them. And just spotting the issue doesn't get you that much, but it is like a key first step. So I feel like I have spotted an issue.
Yay.
And I don't know the rule statement, and I don't know how to apply it, but it's fine.
Whoa. It's gonna be fine. It's totally fine. All right. Trying to think. Any other bits you want to talk about in this section? Oh no, I said it like that. Okay. Eva works on clouding the water, and Blake is forced upstairs to regroup with Peter. Blech. Sorry. Andy and Eva argue about cheats.
Yeah, so Eva figures out that Blake needs light for the reflection to work, and she's just sort of like, okay, maybe make it dark and you can't be here. So Blake kind of pretends he's not there anymore, and she, runs past him, and he tries to stab her, and then she uses fire extinguisher to force him downstairs, and he's kind of like, well, why didn't I go to the closest reflection behind her? And it does feel like cinematically like her like blasting the thing at him should like force him backward.
Yeah.
Like it kind of made sense in my mind that would, like, if he's like propelled through that dark space, like he would end up behind, like farther, but then he questions this again later when he doesn't end up with Evan. He ends up like downstairs or whatever. And I don't know if the person's intent or something has something to do with it. I also don't know if there's like, again, some sort of clue with this, or if it's Wildbow just kind of acknowledging like, or explaining like, it doesn't work this way, y'all, so don't, whatever. I don't know. But my favorite thing in this chapter probably is whenever Blake goes to find Peter in the bathroom, he never is like, hey Peter, like he doesn't ease himself into it at all. He's just like, murmur. And Peter's like, fuck, like every time, like
yeah.
It's really good. Because of course, like, he's in a horrifying situation. He's in a house where all the like exits are like barred with like explosives, and he's trying to flood the place, and like he's in a really bad situation, and there's like this like horrifying bloody Mario who's gonna just show up randomly. Like I've like jumped when like rounding the corner and not realizing like that like my fiance was there or whatever, or like sometimes like one time actually this happened a couple times. Sometimes Egwene will like jump up onto my lap and I wouldn't have known she was there, and then like I'll jump and then she freaks out and runs away. And I feel bad. So the idea of Peter jumping in this situation is very understandable, but also like really funny.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then either Peter does like a 3-beat that is fulfilled in the next chapter, or this is also a clue. He mentions like, hey, keep talking like that, and I'll start thinking you're not really some long lost Thorburn cousin. And like when Blake, because he's like trying to be someone, he's like complimenting Peter or something.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then, he again when he's like, hey, don't like murder this man, Peter's like, are you really a Thorburn? And so I don't know if this is some sort of hint of like, yeah, he's like not really, or he is something, and what do I do with this? And like the cliffhanger at the end of next chapter, the idea that Blake maybe isn't a Thorburn, but also Peter maybe remembers him.
How wild is that though? Like, I mean, I know this is kind of expected because we've been reading this book for a long time, and obviously like all the Thorburn
It's
family are
wild.
assholes, but like to like be like have it so ingrained that like you're like to where like if you think of your family name, they've got to be a complete dickwad, you know? 'Cause it's like, oh, he says he's, my second cousin, but like, and he's calling himself a Thorburn, but he wouldn't backstab his grandma, or like he wouldn't try to kick other kids, like, in order so he could get that candy bar first. Like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. He's got to be a dick if he's a true Thorburn,
Well, it's
funny.
It is funny, and it's also really sad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like imagine these people as children and like them learning that
Well, they're
like
still
being
children.
betrayed.
A lot of,
But right, like imagine, like little adorable 5-year-olds or whatever, and like or 7-year-olds, and just like being straight up betrayed by like your uncles and aunts and like other people. Like this has to have been drilled into them both by like their parents saying like, wow, they're so horrible, and also by
Yeah.
like them doing things to them and like
Mhm.
actively like
literally this is the only way to like survive in this
like
family.
the only like the immediate family groupings that live together seem to be like somewhat positive and supportive of each other, but like certainly not healthy or good, and beyond that it's like active like war. And so it's just
Mhm.
so awful that like they really had to learn this lesson.
Yeah.
And like yeah, again, like thinking about, was Blake real? Were Blake and Rose one hybrid person who did have friends? Were Paige and Molly and Blake friends? Or Blake Rose, below Rose, whatever.
Bros.
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 Hello. We named our son after you. His name is Bros.
He's like, yeah,
Please love him.
Please love him. Pretty much as the name implies, he's a, he's a real bro.
Or were Blake and Rose twins? There's just so many questions. And they're all sad. Okay.
They're all depressing.
I'm also just like, well, Alma's gonna fuck me over at least like 3 more times in this story, but I still feel a little embarrassed each time. And I don't know what's happening, but it feels like I'm about to get embarrassed again.
Oh man, Malia, I just had a thought because we were talking about Mario earlier. So obviously Rose is Mario, not to mention roses are red, and Blake has to be Luigi and like green eyes. Oh my gosh.
We just figured out something really stupid. Mind-blowingly like amazing, but also what is happening?
It's like the real inspiration for the story.
It's Bloody Mario.
Bloody Mario. It's really deep. It's really deep in there. Like to where you guys probably are like, this doesn't actually like make any sense, but like it's just that deep, And
Roses are red.
it's like subliminal,
Mario is
even
bloody.
Like maybe Wildo played a lot of Mario. Maybe he doesn't even realize it, but it's like subliminal. It just it's.
Ooh, wait, okay. Roses are red. Mario is bloody. Green Eyes loves Blake and wants a fuck buddy.
Oh, what the
I
fuck?
solved it.
You know? All right, I'm not gonna lie. I did not see that last. I didn't see that. I didn't see where that was going. But you know, great job. That's a great job, Malia. You know, I'm proud of you. This is like you always were good at writing. You know, I knew
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah, this is kind of like the culmination of that, you know, creativity and writing talent that you haven't used it for a while. It's really paid off right now.
It's just built up inside of me.
It's just built up, you know? Oh my goodness. I've got to say that really made me laugh, and I had a really, 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 really bad day at work a couple days ago. It wasn't bad for most of it, but we had a really bad code at the end.
Oh no.
Yeah. And it was the first time in a long time we've had a code, and then we didn't get the patient back. And he was very young so I've been really bummed out. And no, well, I appreciate it. But the silliness has been making me feel a lot better.
Yay.
So sorry for interrupting with that kind of depressing thing, but the silliness of this recording podcast is making me feel better about it. I mean, not about it, but you know what I mean? Like,
just improving your spirits.
Improving my mood a little bit, yeah. It's kind of hard to get past some shit like that sometimes. But at least well, anyway, I'm not gonna talk about it, but okay. But yeah, I'm gonna just try to remember that poem. You know? Just when I'm going through tough times, going through hard times in my life, just gonna try to think back, you know? Roses are red. Mario is bloody. Blake.
Green Eyes loves Blake.
Green Eyes loves Blake and wants a fuck buddy. You know? Like, how much truer, like, romance can you get than that, you know? Like, that's just primal, like, just, you know, instinctual right there.
Yeah, Montague and Turtle Queen got nothing.
Oh, jeez. It's good. I mean, who knows? You can, if you feel free, you can come up with another verse later on. No pressure. I mean, it might not be worth it because it's kind of perfect as is, but you know, you can always think of something else later. Yeah, just go with the flow.
Speaking of flow, water flows, and
yes,
that's a problem for Eva and Andy.
Yes, it is.
I think Eva has the idea to like get segue. Salt and to like sprinkle salt to like fuck up Blake. Mm-hmm. But Andy's like, get sheets and put them on the floor. And we don't know if this ever actually happens, which is fun. I guess not, because Blake isn't like, suddenly I can't see.
Yeah, suddenly I can't move from, you know. Yeah, right. It's true.
And yeah, I think we basically figure out that they haven't gotten into the library or whatever. And Eva's like, hey, Andy, like, while you're at it, turn the power off and I'll go find sheets. And Blake pops into Rose's room and Evan's waiting there. And he's like, all right, Evan, you clear the water and I'll fuck shit up.
That's right. So Blake ends up traveling down to where most of the Thorburns are, tells him to hit the breaker, knows not to explain shit because they're just going to argue, and ends up, you know, keeping Andy and Eva from permanently cutting off the power. And Peter ends up knocking Andy out and really pisses off Eva. Just not great.
Good job, Peter.
Yeah. Good job, Peter. Knock out the more sensible one.
Yeah, well, interesting. I don't think he could have knocked out Eva, so
no, but like, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, Blake pops down to the basement and it's not a cellar like I had hoped. He describes the basement windows as being pretty small, so it doesn't seem like there's a good way out. Or it is a cellar. I don't know what the difference is, y'all. I don't live in a place where those are a thing.
I don't know. I just think cellars. I don't know if I had a conversation. I feel like I had a conversation with someone about this recently. Might have even been you. Might have even been
might have
last
been me.
podcast. I don't
might have
remember.
been.
So sorry if this is the same kind of thing. I always thought of cellars as having, just a bunch of jars of preserves and things. And a basement doesn't necessarily, I guess. I don't know.
Interesting.
I feel like cellars have to have some kind of preserved food in there. I mean, I guarantee that's not actually what the definition is, but like that's literally all I know about a cellar.
Store the food.
And, I feel like I talked about this last time and you'd think I would have looked it up, in between now and then, but nope, I sure didn't.
I mean, it's not that important.
I know, but like all the crap that I look up, even just during these episodes, like
that's true. Do you want to look it up now, or are we
I'm
just gonna
it.
like live?
I'm doing it, guys. All right, no, we're not gonna live. Okay, this is the first link is nyc.gov, so this is like legit. All right, so
they have
this is
whatever.
I mean, this is what it's apparently, or either that or they care about cellars for some reason in New York City. But it says a basement is a story of a building partly below curb level, but with at least one half of its height above curb level. Okay. A cellar is an enclosed space having more than one half of its height below curb level. Usually, if a cellar has any windows, the windows are too small for an adult to fit through. So can you have a basement and a cellar?
Well, I guess so. A basement has so a basement
is higher
half
up.
of it needs to be out.
Yeah. At least part of it, like at least half of it has to be above curb or ground level or whatever, and then half can be below. A cellar, like most, or at least more than a half, has to be below the ground level.
Okay. So this is a cellar because the windows are small, probably.
And because it's deeper in the ground.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, have I ever been in a basement? Like,
I mean, I feel like I'm trying to think now if I've been in a basement. I was going to be like, of course we've been in a basement, but have we?
Like, I've been in a cellar. I lived in a house that I think qualifies as a cellar.
I definitely have not been in a cellar. They don't really have basements in Texas, or at least in this area in Texas, because the ground doesn't really, it's too rough. Well, I think like the water level is too high or something, so they don't tend to build basements. Does that sound right? I think that's what someone told me once.
Well, also just the lava rock probably makes it hard.
In Texas or Hawaii?
Oh, I guess Texas. Both. Sorry, I was thinking about Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah. Lava rock in Hawaii, it's just not worth it. And water level / rockiness maybe in Texas doesn't make any sense. So yeah. I've never had
So like basement apartments are a thing, but is everyone just wrong? Are they really like cellar apartments? And also like I've been in a house where they have like a basement quote unquote area and it's like finished, and like one side of the house is like, I guess like under the ground, but they're like on a hill kind of. So like the other side, you just kind of walk out onto like the ground from the basement.
Well, if basement, like at least half, if not more, has to be above the ground, while the other half can be within, or under the ground. So
in a way, half of it is above the ground because
so it's a basement,
and the other half isn't. But it's not like you cut it horizontally; it's like you cut it vertically.
I feel like at a certain point they probably just don't give a fuck.
Okay,
but I mean, it's definitely more of a basement than a cellar.
So cellars don't have to have like cool wooden doors like that lead out.
I mean, not according to this definition that I'm only looking at part of. I did not click into it, but I could. I felt like that. That's pretty much the main thing it says, and then it's like in bold text: dangers of illegal basement and cellar conversions.
Oh God!
And yeah, which I guess actually makes sense.
Is Brett? Is it Brett or Brent? It's Brett, isn't it? You think Verona's dad is legally converting the basement into an apartment?
That's a good question. Does he seem like the type to try to go through the work to get a permit? I'm gonna go with
Like-
no.
No, but also maybe he would so he could complain about it
True.
and use it as an excuse to not get shit done.
True. But he did find some creepy ass people
Whoa!
already.
God,
They're kind of
yeah.
horrible. It's terrible, but maybe the carbon monoxide will get them, so that's okay.
Apparently carbon monoxide like rises. Is that a thing? Or would it get trapped in your basement?
I mean, on this nyc.gov site, one of the dangers mentions carbon monoxide poisoning,
Okay.
along with inadequate light and ventilation and inadequate egress in the event of a fire.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think that Verona's dad's house has an adequate egress from the basement.
you're probably right.
Adequate egress is really fun to say. Anyway, speaking of basements,
All right.
the Thorburns do not have an adequate egress.
Oh,
They
random.
are
Carbon monoxide does not sink or rise. It mixes easily with the air inside a home.
Whoa.
Wild. So, all right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So the Thorburns cannot egress. That's probably not the word. Okay, whatever. And she did throw the tear grass down there, and they're having a bad time. And Blake pops up to yell at them. And he's like, turn off the breaker!
How the breaker down?
Turn it back on in 5 minutes, mer. And then he goes away. And he freaks Peter out again, which is fun. And he's like, okay, Peter, in 30 seconds, I want you to go into the hall. And mentions he might be able to, beat up Andy or whatever. So Peter's like, I have a very heavy object. This will be great.
Mm-hmm.
And Blake's like, go time. And so Evan opens the door. And it's fun because, like, it's described as one of those, like, fake crystal doorknobs. And, like, Grandma would have those in her house. Like, that's really fun.
Yeah.
And so, he manages to open it. And and clear the water. And I keep trying to imagine stuff from Blake's side. And so Blake is just, like, craning his neck, like, looking down at the floor. And then, like, it's like he's looking up at everything. And that's kind of wild and gotta be kind of uncomfortable.
Except I don't think he feels pain that much.
True. Benefits.
Benefits.
I'm also worried about when he's like, I can't deal with this thing right now. Is it like as if he was in the abyss and he's like choosing to let go of certain parts of his humanity? Or because he's not in the abyss, is he not like getting fucked? I don't know. Anyway. Okay, what if Blake's still in the abyss? What if that's the thing? Everything's a lie. Blake is not left.
Well, at least this is a nice hallucination. In comparison to the abyss, at least. Right.
Interesting. Huh.
Perspective,
But yeah, so Blake goes for it. Andy's like, why are the lights off? I didn't do it. And Blake is like, ha, and grabs him and holds him. And then Peter shows up with the toilet lid, and Blake's like, maybe don't hit this man over the head with a large ceramic object. And Peter's like, literally, why the fuck would you ever say that? And then he does it. He's like, really, I don't know that you're Thorburn. And Blake tries to like pretend that he's cool and wasn't like kind of concerned about Andy. At least I hope that that's what he's doing. And was like, we need him alive because if he's dead, Eva's gonna murder us.
Yeah.
Speaking of, here she is. No sheets.
No
all
sheets.
Crazy.
Just reading that, you're like, Eva's standing there scary, no sheets. For some reason, I was like, ghost.
Eva jumps down the stairs with
really
a sheet
dumb.
with eye holes.
Yeah, that's like legit what I was thinking. She's scary even though she doesn't have a sheet.
I think that it'd be really funny if there was another, like, this has goblin vibes to me, but I don't know, who like ran around with like a sheet on with like holes and thought it was really scary and like it wasn't, but It was
It's
great.
like a cherry pop type of thing. Maybe a little. I mean, it wouldn't be a sheet. It'd be like a washcloth.
Right.
You know?
She could use one of those. That'd be fun. Except she'd trip over
or
it
like
a lot. That'd be sad.
I mean, it wouldn't be sad. It'd be hilarious.
Yeah. So she's kind of like, I would rather light everything on fire, including myself, than let you live if my brother's dead or whatever. Slash, I would rather burn all of us alive than not leave with him.
Yeah.
The fact that she punches Peter in the face with a grenade is like really hardcore.
Yeah.
Like, imagine getting punched in the face with a grenade that like has its pin pulled. Like, what do you do from that point on?
I think like just getting punched was something that hard. You wouldn't. I mean, that in itself would be bad.
Oh yeah.
And then maybe it would scramble your brain enough to where it'd be harder to think about the fact that the pin was pulled.
Oh, maybe.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Little concussion.
This reminds me. Okay, this was really funny. I'm gonna try to tell the story without laughing too hard. It's a pretty short story. So today we went to South Padre Island, which is like spring break island, beachy place in South Texas, and it's really not far from where we live. So hopefully we'll go fairly often because it was fun. But
Cool.
we're in the water. We've been in there for a while, and like there's a whole bunch of birds because there's like fish, and we even see like one of the two of the fish kind of like jump out of the water at times. Or whatever, but we're chilling, we're having a nice time, and our friends are like, yeah, we're gonna go back to the shore or whatever and like lay out for a while. We're like, okay, we'll probably join you in a minute. And we're just standing there talking, and I'm just looking at Ben, and we're talking, and all of a sudden this fish this fish jumps out of the water and smacks directly into the side of Ben's face. This fish just like punched Ben in the face. In its whole body. It was the funniest thing. It was perfect. It was perfectly like at his cheek, like at his.
It's like you'll remember that in your mind forever.
Forever. It was
when you're saying
so
your
good.
vows. You'll remember that moment. I feel like this is the man. This is the man I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, and he got punched in the face by a fish.
Yeah, I mean, I felt kind of bad, but it was really, really funny because he was like, it hurt. I was like, okay.
No, I mean, if that happened to Vitalis, or if that happened to me, even if it hurt, I would think that's fucking hilarious.
It's so funny.
That's awesome. That's pretty funny. Wow.
So good. Yeah. And we were just like, okay, we just like left. We were like, the water's done with us now. Like, we're gonna go.
Like, if that's not an omen to get back on the shore, you know, I don't know what else is.
Right. Oh god. It was it was perfect.
That's great.
But yeah, so they're fighting, and at one point she kicks Blake's elbow to the point where she like breaks it.
And he's just has to like readjust it, you know,
before it like completely heals wrong, and one of his birds is like murdered in the process or whatever, and it's like, okay, that's cool. I hate this. And that was a really like visceral, upsetting part. One of the more visceral and upsetting parts of this story, in my opinion, so far, until we get to next chapter. And but yeah, so they're fighting and they're doing the thing, and so Blake like grapples her or something, and he has a hard time when like the water is disturbed, and he soon realizes like he's trying to hold her, but he's just kind of holding the grenade, and she's like, ha, and lets it go. And shunts Blake to wherever. And he's like, oh, I'll throw this. And he just throws it, and it shunts to a light somewhere else and like presumably explodes. And it's just like, what happened there? Right? Like,
well, hopefully no one was there and nothing was there.
Yeah, and like, did all of their like mirrors break in like an incendiary blast or not? not, because like, oh my god. I'm assuming we'll find out what happened with that, but also, what if we just never do? Oh, that'd be funny. We'll probably find out. Anyway.
Maybe. Guess we'll see. Well, and then after that, Eva's disappointed to find out Blake didn't die horribly, and they come to a reluctant truce.
Yeah, so the two trump cards, I guess, were the incendiary grenade and the green orb, which we still don't find out what the green orb was supposed to do. So that's fun. It's still around though, so I guess we'll find out next arc when we use it to do something.
I mean, you don't find out everything in these stories. We still don't know who the fuck Sleeper is. We may know more about Sleeper, but we.
Yeah, but that's like a fun, like, out there in the distance thing, and this is like an antagonist being like, this was supposed to fuck up your shit.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. We'll see if we find out. See if we find out about the grenade. See if we find out about the green thing.
So many question marks.
So many question marks.
And Eva's like, okay, so I'm gonna leave with my brother, and I'll just leave you all here, and I won't kill you. And Blake's like, cool, if you try, I'll blow you up. Because if he can get Andy and Eva to stay, then presumably they'll help, because the shit that's coming will also be happy to kill them. And that's why they needed to leave the house by 5 o'clock. Because she's like, no, it's totally only gonna hurt you. And he's like, okay, you're lying. And I like that he was like, I'm a Thorburn, at least to some extent. I know to see when I see it. And I was just like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, like, my friends are fine, and you're gonna help. And I feel like this could go horribly wrong, and I'm betting that she's just gonna be trying to get out with her brother the whole time. I'm realizing it could be Andy that's lying in the bed, in which case, like, someone get Callan out of the couch. Yeah.
You think he'll be safer from demons if he's stuck in the couch?
Maybe, but I don't think that's the most pressing concern. He's stuck in a couch.
Yeah, he's like, I need to breathe.
Yeah.
All right, we come to the part Malia's most excited for. The Midge Interlude.
Yay.
And how surprised were you when it was Midge that we started off with here?
Yeah, I was surprised. Like, I figured out who it was pretty quickly, I think. But yeah, no, I'd like forgotten about Midge. And this was upsetting.
Yeah, it's like everything is kind of terrible in this part.
Yeah, I think, like, so there've been some pretty, like, emotionally devastating parts in this story where, like, you know, I thought Blake was dead, and just things that have been, like, you know, upsetting, but I think this is the most, like, viscerally horrifying and disturbing chapter to me so far. Something about, like, a little girl, like, biting into your flesh and, like, becoming ravenous and just trying to eat you.
Yeah,
like,
it's like
is something
so
I can't really
creepy.
get over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we learn a little bit about Midge. I'm still kind of confused about stuff, but it's okay. We see her parents. She has a really skinny dad and a really big mom, and mom is in charge, and dad likes food. And they don't always have that. It kind of feels like their food is people. There's not a ton of evidence that it's not people.
I mean, yeah.
Considering the 3 people they have chained in their house. And how Midge eats people later. But I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it could be. I mean, I'm sure that they probably eat anything, but
yeah. So she has at least a couple of siblings, one of which is Mal, I think, and he's like the smart one. He fixes cars. He can kind of pass as like normal, I guess, quote unquote. And he seems to be like a decent older brother. He like teaches her how to count and different things. Kind of looks out for her. And her father likes her too. So we kind of know she's his Skeeter. But Mam seems to just like hate her. She like yells at her, she, hurts her. She tells her, go look after your little brothers, who are these like scary babies. They're big, they're not fat. They have like bones in their crib, and Midge is like afraid to put her hand in there. I guess she's worried they'll, bite her, eat her, something. And she thinks they're boring, which is not
Doesn't seem
the adjective
boring,
I would
but...
use.
Yeah.
And we get introduced to her doll. We learn that when she's caught playing with her doll, her ma'am gets upset and makes her look after her brothers.
Which is really sad.
It's so awful, especially when we learn she's 5 years old. For some reason, she's mute, and her mom thinks there's something wrong with her. And it's like, is she for an odd folk? Is she even more different? Because Mal or whatever is described as, being able to pass. And so it seems like they're all odd folk. We see her father bound later, and so they seem to be others of some sort. But Midge is different. And oh my god, and then it's just the worst thing, because they're these strangers who are dressed up and chained to the bed, and Midge talks about how like she doesn't trust the smiles, that they like put her off. She relates smiles to being hurt, because I guess her mom's and other people like smile when they hurt her, and also her dad smiles when he eats, and her mom smiles when she like fucks her dad, I guess, but otherwise smiles are bad. And fear and discomfort are comfortable. Oh, despair, that was the word. So it's just awful. And then so Sean's kind of like, hey, what's up? And she jabs him in the eye with a bone, and like, that was rude and unnecessary, but like, okay. She doesn't trust him. He's smiling at her. And they try to get the key from her, and she's like, "Oh, you can't get out because the way these open is for us to jab a knife in them and pop your head off or something."
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Super great.
And like, her jabbing Sean with the bone was kind of upsetting and unnerving, and this is where we all just like lose it internally. Andrea decides to, try to bait Midge in by saying like, why did you do that to your doll, honey? Like, do you want me to fix it? And she's actually, like being sweet and nice, and Midge, walks over, and so she grabs Midge and the knife, and Midge is like, oh, she smells like meat and fruit, and starts fighting her.
Yeah, that's fucking terrible.
And it's so awful. And the girl stabs her, and she's still eating her, and she's like ravenous, and Mam has to come in and like rip her off, and is like, oh, she ruined dinner because now there's blood everywhere. And I'm like, and you're going in the shed. So she gets shoved and locked into the shed, and she just like pulls the knife out of her chest, because whatever. And yeah, so she starts hunting, trying to find rats, and she goes further and further into the shed and finds her way out, quote unquote. I'm not really sure what this is. It kind of reminds me of like Thea's other dimension thing that she lived in when she was a child. I'm not really sure why. Also, like, a sort of fucked up Narnia, like the world in the back of the wardrobe. Because it seems that she never really leaves the shed during this time. She just finds some sort of world far back there where everything is dying. The sky is black. It's cold. the ground breaks and there's like sludge, but then she finds a town. So yeah, I don't know what this is, or if I'm supposed to know. But it's the place she goes back to once she's bound. So some sort of realm. I guess it could be the abyss. I'm not sure. Anyway, she starts hunting people who are alone and asleep, and eventually stops caring if they're alone and asleep, and just starts like
Just
eating and
goes.
terrorizing people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And part of you is like, well, she needs to live, and part of you is like, I hate this, and I hate everything about
Like, all
this, and I
this
hate
sucks
this.
so much.
It's so bad. So then suddenly the door to the shack opens, and you're like, what? And then there's some dudes, and she kills some of them. And the dogs can speak, because, like, they're familiars, and the men speak like this priest that she had met before who tried to, like, exorcise her or something. I don't remember. And yeah, her father is bound in a circle, and it seems like all of her siblings and her mom have been killed. She describes the situation as them having been stopped with words and dogs and circles, and the men can't bind her with their words. They seem to think they should, and eventually they wear her down. Enough words create enough weight that she is bound and sworn to the seal. Um, Part of the deal is that she can be summoned now. And they say her name, and Paul realizes who it is and that she's not dead, which is kind of sad and sweet, and also I hate this.
Yep.
And then they send her back to the place at the back of the shack. Fun. So then we flash to the present, and she's summoned by Tiffany, I think. And Blake's like, we need strong if we're gonna make it, because they've tried a whole bunch of other things and none of them have really worked. And Tiff is really sweet, saying that we should get her a blanket or something. And
Yeah.
she gets her some coats that she makes into this like kind of makeshift coat thing. That was pretty funny. And Midge just kind of sucks. And yeah, it was just upsetting. She does note that like this summoning was like a good summoning for now or whatever, that she couldn't, disobey for now, but she will as soon as she can. And
Mm-hmm.
they have a password called that's birds and trees, which is cute. And go ahead and hurt everyone who's not human who comes by. And yeah, Eva's like cooperating, I guess. And Tiffany's like, what's more inconvenient than Midge? And I'm like, girl, you know it's more inconvenient than Midge. And speaking of like the fact that it goes from Midge to Corvidae to Green Eyes makes me really worried about Green Eyes, and I don't want to be. Yeah.
Just thinking how they're linked.
Yeah, going from like bad to worse to like
Someone
even worse, presumably.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
She does seem to want to help Blake, so that's nice.
That is nice. All right. Well, let's talk about Corvidae.
Yay! I don't know why, but I kind of thought he was like European, and so it was neat learning that he's an indigenous
Yeah.
other, I guess. It's like there's some sort of ceremony where there's fire and spirits, and it kind of congeals into this greater spirit, who's a bird. And an Algonquin man says, cause them heartbreak, do it until they have suffered what we have 3 times over. And that sucks. Like, I understand the desire for revenge and the desire to hurt people who have, like, come into your home and really fucked your whole life up.
Yeah.
But doing it this way, like, they can't learn the lesson, like, especially at the beginning, like, there's no way, and when he fucks with innocence, like, there's no way any of these people can understand, like, this is happening because we, like, committed a genocide against these people, right? Like, they can't get, it's just to make them suffer. And that's, like, fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can't understand what that feels like, but it just feels like making the world worse for like no real reason.
Yeah, because it doesn't really make your situation better.
Right. And it doesn't even make your enemies know that you've like hurt them. Like you don't even have that satisfaction. It's just make other people suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we see how Corvidae works kind of. Things look brighter when they're really important, I think. Or something. He's really into connections, as we knew, but yeah, his whole thing is just like fucking with people's connections to things and each other. Yeah, and so we see like there's a governess who takes in orphans, and he makes it seem like the one of the orphans has stolen something like important to her and her family, and so that hurts her, and she beats the kid, which is sucks, and the kid doesn't get why because the kid didn't steal the thing, and it's just like it's just upsetting. He's just like making people suffer. He creates this like love triangle between this like married man and gets him to fall in love with this other lady, and the lady's like ew when he actually makes a move, and the wife is really upset. It's just like that sucks.
Yeah.
And every time he makes people suffer, he gets stronger. And it's I like we've seen this with Blake already. It's just kind of solidifying like, okay, yeah, we're understanding how others work and how the system works. And it's kind of amazing thinking about Pale, because this system of power for so many of these others is like make other people's lives worse and like hurt people, and like I directly benefit. Going back, I guess, kind of to Alpie's nightmares, maybe they help people become better people, but also giving them nightmares gives Alpie power. And thinking of a situation like Kennet where people are not fucking people over. The Turtle Queen, for instance, we've seen her give up things that she has taken. And it's awesome that someone like the Turtle Queen can find that worth it, because we see like again this like individualism, I guess, is such a powerful incentive. Like the idea of someone like Corvidae doing this in like not doing this, managing to do this in a way that is somehow positive doesn't seem possible. Yeah. So then we get the popular good girl and the bad boy, and it could have been a really cute love story, and it maybe probably would have been a cute love story, except he keeps fucking with it. He keeps pushing her and pushing him until she's angry and whatever as well. And the dad is like, I think the devil is here and like fucking with my daughter. And we remember how Corvidae was thought of as a lesser demon in the past. And so possibly a practitioner, possibly just a powerful religious man, manages to capture Corvidae and send him back. It sucks because it seems like when he catches him, he also like swears him to the seal. So he's now part of the Western power structure. I guess Western in terms of European power structure, and can be unleashed onto whoever. And this is also, I don't remember how. Oh no, we did just see this in Pact, where Paper Girl gets sent back to the Cabal. Corvidae gets sent back to his creator. Yeah, and this is just like upsetting, and Corvidae's kind of like, okay, like let me fuck you up, like that way I won't hurt many other people and we can just move on or whatever. And he's like, well, if I let you do this, they'll just use you against us, like whatever. And I kind of wish he had been like, no, it's too late, like they have my name, like
Yeah.
just whatever.
Yeah.
Because this is just like upsetting. I mean, the old man is like, better to destroy you or turn you back against him, and I'm like, yeah, it probably would have been better to destroy him, but
Yeah.
he's more powerful than you think, maybe. He traps Corvidae, but before he does, or as he does, Corvidae throws a knife and it kills, his family member, presumably a child or something. And the old man decides to kill himself and give Corvidae that power so he can go back and fuck people over more. And Corvidae says, like, okay, father. And he's like, don't call me father, wretched thing. And I'm just like, you did this. Like, you created this. Like, you are responsible for this. Like, you should own it. Like, I don't know. That was just upsetting and it felt hurtful. Like, yeah. Yeah, so now his whole thing is like, I'll never, like, I will make sure that the people who call me, who summon me, pay a price for it. And you're like, who do I know that summoned Corvidae? Yeah, so he talks about how he is summoned twice and he fucks them both over and they don't know it. And then he has this weird thing for this, like, couple, and so he finds them. I had a thought. Not entirely sure what time period this is. I guess I assumed it was like a while ago. But I feel like a prediction is that this boy and girl are the first Thorburns. Yeah, that's a fun prediction. Okay. Anyway, because I'm like, oh, we probably find out what happened to them.
Interesting. Okay.
So he finds them. They're with Mara. That's fun. We've already seen a little bit of how scary this woman is with Mags, and now we get to see just like
How
how
fucked up.
scary this woman is.
Yeah. Holy shit, right?
It's so awful.
I've been waiting for this part.
Oh my god. Yeah, so they eat, and he's like, I want those people. And she's like, but I want those people. And he's like, yeah, it's gonna be great. Just don't worry about it. I'll like come visit you. I'll bring you like something I've taken from these people. I'll show you all the rest of them. I'll tell you the stories. It's gonna be great. Which I feel like another prediction, I guess, like this is gonna be an epilogue, is us, like from Mara's perspective, we're gonna see what Corvidae has taken from like Blake and or Rose. But yeah, so
I feel like I'm
she's
surprised you
like,
didn't text me about this part.
I knew it
it's
was
fine,
bad. Like, I knew she was bad. Yeah, so she was like, well, okay, I guess I might as well not wait to, torture and murder my daughter.
Yeah.
So she, yeah, she, like, slices into her ankles with a dull knife, so that her body can't move. She stabs her hand into the table and body swaps with her daughter. Presumably, if her daughter was in like a bigger body, maybe she could have attacked her or something, but she has, what's the word? I don't know. She has neutralized the body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically like, yeah, like, you're gonna die now and be in a doll for a while or something, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
And Corvidae's like, well, shit, you've done this 23 times. And she's like, pshaw, I've done this so many more times. The dolls eventually degrade and then I bury them or something. And he's like, so where did the girls come from? And I'm like, no, that's not the question. Like, we know where the girls come from. Because she says the question is, where do the men come from? And I'm like, I want to die.
Yeah. It's absolutely horrifying. And I'm like, I thought it was horrifying when I first read it. Now, having kids, it's like extra horrifying. I'm like, I don't understand. But I guess if you're a monster, then you'll do monstrous things.
It's big, like, Mother Gothel energy in a way. I mean, she wasn't, like, murdering Rapunzel and
I mean,
inhabiting her body, but she was,
like, she was horrible, but I still think she's pretty fucking light in comparison.
Oh, yeah, in comparison.
You know?
There's spoilers for Dragon Age. There's a video game series where there's a witch who lives in the woods. You meet her pretty early on in the first game, and she has a daughter named Morrigan, and at some point during that game, if you do enough like character shit with Morrigan, you learn that her whole thing is that she like steals her daughter's bodies at some point.
That's right.
And she's like, I don't want that, so let's go kill her. And it doesn't really work, but Morgan, at least at this far in the franchise, has not been body snatched, so that's cool.
Woo!
Yeah. It's upsetting.
It's very upsetting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely fucked. But yeah.
Yeah. So with this promise that Corvidae will fuck over everyone who summons him in particular, we see him summoned by our favorite heroes. And I'm not sure, like, presumably Ty or Tiffany or Alexis did this summoning, because Blake can't practice and Eva can't practice. And so I'm not sure how literal it is, if, like, he's going to get all of them, he's just going to get one of them, he just needs to get one of them, he has to get the person who summoned him, like, I'm not sure. But it kind of feels like Blake and Rose are the two that are going to get fucked, so cool. And they're like, we don't like you, go outside, fuck other people up if they're hostile. And he scares the shit out of Alexis by going to the door that are all have bombs or whatever, and he makes it so the bomb doesn't go off, and he fucks off. And he thinks about how I was a little bit confused by the hair around his finger, because I thought Rose's hair was blonde and I figured that's what it was, but maybe whatever. But he thinks about how the dipshits in Toronto have lost Conquest's mirror, probably because he did something, and maybe he'll use Conquest someday, and for now, he gets to fuck with Rose and Blake, and it's wonderful. He also probably, is the reason that the binding didn't quite work, and that Rose and Conquest are more tied together. So that's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. Nothing, like, what could go wrong with this, right?
Yeah.
All right, and then we move to Green Eyes.
Yay.
Which seems different, but also it's ominous after the last two, as you said. So
yeah, so the first time I read it, I was just like, oh, it's Green Eyes, like, this is fun, like, she's here, like, cool, I'm excited, because she's not like, and I will murder all of you. Like, she's not like, heh, heh, heh. She's just like, oh, I'm lonely. Oh, it's Blake. Hi, Blake. I love you. Like, Peter's here, but Blake's better, and yay. She thinks of Evan as a bird morsel, which is upsetting. But she's like, I'll be good. I won't eat Evan. And Blake's sort of talking about how, yeah, okay, we've done all we can. These are, like, all the people we can think of. Also considering how Blake kept being like, we don't have very many options, it's interesting that she's the last one summoned. Although maybe he didn't want to drag her into this, and not he thought she's horrible, because he doesn't seem to think she's horrible.
I would think, yeah, he probably didn't want to drag her into the whole thing.
Yeah.
I would assume.
But then there's this sentence. I don't know what to do with this sentence. But the bell starts tolling. The bell that makes Blake feel like he's gonna, like, rip out of his skin with, like, the anxiety juice or whatever. The bell that makes everyone feel like they're gonna, like, die, that's been, like, tolling in the background. The bell that, like, Molly is, like, gonna fuck up everyone's shit. And I hope Molly, god damn it. I hope Molly's not the thing that's being indiscriminately set at the house to murder everyone. Anyway, so she's thinking about this bell, and she comments on how she likes it. And I'm like, that feels like a bad sign. Like, that feels like either she's just so good and so pure that she doesn't hear that scary angry bell, and she's just sort of like, oh, it's a nice sound. Or, like, it's super fucked up.
Or, like, this is bad. It's a bad
omen. Yeah. And then Peter starts talking about how Blake has weird friends. We've already heard about how Peter was like, Rose had no friends and she sucked. And I'm trying to figure that out. That the whole Rose having no friends and Blake having friends feels important. Anyway, Peter just starts like reminiscing fondly about the past. And he like almost has an emotional moment where he opens up about being jealous. And he's kind of like, yeah, I remember like you having friends, basically. Like, friends. I remember being jealous of. And he's like, I don't know. Paige, Molly, and then he doesn't finish the sentence. And Blake's like, me? And then it's 5 o'clock and we're gonna get fucked. So we're probably not gonna find out what that means immediately, which is annoying. And I feel like the two options are there's probably another option. The two options I can think of are either one, Blake and Rose were twins. Blake existed and was friends with Paige and Molly, and Rose also existed and she sucked.
Yeah.
Or number two, Blake and Rose were the same person that has been severed in half, reflection, blah blah blah, barbatorum, blah blah blah.
Okay.
Something. And I don't know if that means like Blake was a girl or Blake was a boy, and like I don't know, but
Okay.
something.
What are you leaning towards more?
Oops.
Hmm?
Sorry, my headphone made a noise, but we're good. What am I leaning toward more? I kind of feel like the second one, that they were like the same person and they've been split, just because that makes Blake's realization that like he was the other and Rose wasn't, like, feel like less of a lie, because that was a really big moment where he acknowledges and accepts like, oh no, I'm fake, like this didn't like my life has not been real, this hasn't happened. And like maybe it's in the sense of someone like Montague, right, where Monty's like, there was like a man once, like once there was something that happened, I'm sure, but now I'm this. Like they're just so totally different. Like Gilkey and whatever happened to that man as well. And so that could be what has happened with Blake, the twin, but I don't know. God, that's just so incredibly fucked up to do to your grandson.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of fucked up stuff in this family, and
Yeah.
like, yeah, I probably wouldn't put my 1-year-old on top of a pile of dead pig carcasses, to summon a demon as bait.
Rotting. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, probably wouldn't do that. But probably, yeah, that's like understatement of the century. But
Yep.
yeah, like,
Anyway.
see how different, these practitioners are to a lot of stuff we see in Pale,
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, some of them are still pretty fucked in Pale, but like, yeah, it's a different vibe.
I was gonna say that the whole Midge biting into a person was like the most disturbing thing. I mean, Mara was also really disturbing, like that I've seen in the other verse so far. But then I remembered the milkmaid, and then I remembered like the Hungry Choir, and I was like, maybe not. But it was still very upsetting.
Still very upsetting. Yeah.
I think part of it was like the shock of it being like totally unexpected.
Yeah. And it's just like horrifying. And
Right.
I mean, so is the milkmaid and the Hungry Choir as well.
Right.
But I feel like it's like they're all different types of horrifying.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy reading about the Hungry Choir the most out of all those. Probably because it just seems, I don't know why, but like it's still horrifying, but I enjoy reading about them more. The milkmaid is just like,
oh my god,
utterly horrifying in the same reason, in a way, like Mara's is to me. Or a similar way, because like you're like, body, like you're being forcibly changed into something and trapped,
Yeah.
And then Midge, you think you can somewhat trust this like really creepy but fucked up looking toddler, or like a little girl, and try to, I mean, frankly, they did try to take her as a hostage, but then you think you have the upper hand, and then no, she starts fucking eating you.
Right. And I think part of it too is like being in her head, you can kind of get it. She's really hungry, and it's just so awful. Like it's sad, and it's so fucking scary. Like, yeah.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is the end of the arc.
Woo!
All right. So we're going to talk about, what does malfeasance mean?
Yeah, this one I feel like is like the hardest arc title for me to pin down. I can't quite figure it out. The the definition I had found at the beginning was wrongdoing, especially by a public official. And I feel like we haven't seen any public officials really in this section. I mean, like, or in this arc, there's been a bunch of like people doing shitty things. I mean, the Thorburns are here, right? That's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But like, there hasn't really been any like corruption or anything that I can think of. Like, Andy and Eva are here and they like beat some people up, and that's bad, but it wasn't like they betrayed their job. Like, no, they did their job, right? And yeah. But then, and then like thinking about the interlude too, like none of them were like really, they were all just sort of following their nature, I guess.
Hmm.
But when you think of it etymologically, mal is like bad or evil, and feasance comes from Latin for activity. So an evil activity, there's lots of that in this arc.
There's a fuckload of that.
Particularly in the interlude, what with Mara and Corvidae and Midge and all of those things. What with, kicking a 12-year-old in the face and
Yeah.
stealing a bunch of shit from people who were being kind of nice to you. Cough, Ellie. And
Breaking into someone's house and, tying them all up to the water heater or whatever. And then
yeah,
getting a grenade.
yeah.
Stuffing your relative in a couch.
I mean, to be fair, they were trying to hide
I mean, that's true, but,
it's not great. The tear gas. Yeah, I mean, there's just a bunch of like bad shit that's happened in this arc, but there doesn't feel like there's been any sort of like betrayal of your office or role.
Unless Green Eyes did something.
Right, unless Green Eyes. I mean, like, the closest thing is kind of like Corvidae, like, being sent back against his creator or whatever, but even that was, like, not his choice, and he tried to make it not awful. I don't know.
It's true. All right.
Maybe Rose is, like, out there betraying everyone. That's fun.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's really fun. Well, where do you see the story going from here?
So we're gonna be at Siege or whatever again in the house, and the house is like in a really bad state. I think maybe that all the bombs being at all the doors could be possibly useful, but if it's Molly coming for them, like, that's not gonna help. Because it is like interesting that we haven't seen Molly this arc. Yeah, so I think we're not gonna get a straight answer about the whole what Peter remembers thing right away. We're gonna be in the house. There's some innocents in the house. There's evidence and practitioners. I mean, yeah, just the bad things are coming, and we're gonna fight. At some point, Rose, I guess, might come back. I'm not sure when. She has been gone for a while. And so I can't see us going an entire arc with her, with us just like being trapped up in the house and with her not being here. So I don't know.
Because like, how do you think she's? Or actually, no, we're gonna wait to the prediction section before I ask you questions. Okay. So we already kind of did our pale in comparison section, but just we compared a bunch of stuff. But I figure I'll ask, do you have anything else that you'd like to compare this to pale? Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I mean, so it reminds me kind of the preparation for summer break, I guess. And just like confronting Marisica, just kind of like a lot of things where the Cannoteers have had to prepare to fight a battle. And thinking about it, like, they're just so much better off. Like, they have a town, they have these others, they can draw cool diagrams, they get cool spirits together, they I mean, they're always, like, coming up against like incredibly powerful people, Musser and Marisica and Anthem. Like, it's never like, oh, it's like super easy and they should definitely win. But like, these bitches, like they have 3 baby practitioners, like an incapacitated witch hunter, decent and non-incapacitated witch hunter, an aware dude, a dude who lives in a mirror realm, and then like a shit ton of innocent people like in a house. Oh, they have a like scary mermaid in a bathtub, and a big lady, and a like vengeful connection manipulator outside. Like they don't have, like they can't leave. There's a bunch of bombs. Their house is like water damage. Like just everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Is bad. There's a demon in the attic. Like it just like
And under the house.
and under the house. You can't forget about that one.
Mm-hmm. What if like I don't even know if I should say this in terms of spoiler, but just as a thought, just to rack your brain. What if just like, Rose is Mario and Blake is Luigi, right?
Oh fuck.
They're two different sides. So what
Right.
if like the barber and the demon of the house under the house are like two different sides? Right?
What if it's the angel under the house?
Oh damn. Oh damn.
Oh my god.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's wild.
just food for thought.
Oh, I love it.
All right. So, time for your bold and specific prediction section that we kind of been talking about a couple little things. So I'm going to ask you first. Actually, no. You tell me what you've been thinking, and then I'll ask my question.
Okay, I think, well, I don't know. I'll just say it. I think Corvidae is gonna fuck up Blake and Alexis's connection.
Okay. Cool.
Just because
he can.
Because he can.
He can. Okay. I wanted to ask, assuming Rose comes back, how do you think she's gonna come back?
Okay. I almost think she's gonna like have convinced someone that she has to go back to fix Barbatorum's binding. That she'll be like escorted back by like Sandra and Johannes or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. We're gonna move on to our previous discussion question.
Oh my god.
Which is dual part. So, what is the weirdest advertisement you've heard and where did you hear it? Or is there something that you would betray your family over? And we got, just to preface this, want to say we got quite a few good weird advertisements in the Discord.
Yeah, I blame you. This was like the most cursed discussion question of all time.
It was so good. So good. I got like, who was it? Hey, let me give credit where credit is due. Let me see here. I'm gonna look this up. Someone, I'll tell you who in a second, reminded me of that creepy, weird Folgers commercial that was from forever ago. Sangachi, yes, thank you. From like 2009, where like the brother and sister are a little too excited to see each other, And then like Sebastian on Discord put a fan made like extension of it, which is like really, really good, to where you almost think that it's the same actors, but it's not. But like it's pretty close.
Yeah.
And then I think my favorite, Tommy B posted a Learn English one, which I think that was my favorite one.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It's pretty funny. There's quite a few other ones that are on here. Or at least, yeah, there's a few other ones on here that I didn't have a chance to look at yet, but feel free to take a look at our Discord. And if you're not a part of it,
join it. It's free.
Join it. Yeah.
Free.
And I'm sure that we can put a link somewhere, or there probably is one somewhere. Probably should have thought this through before mentioning that.
Doof.com/Discord, I think.
All right.
Woo.
Okay. Well, shoot.
For sure. Yeah.
And if it's not, let us know and we'll find out how to get you the invite.
Woo!
We're really organized. Okay, so we'll start with Ace of Swords. They answer, is there something you would betray your family over? So they say, I think I might betray family if it was for their own good. For example, their mom is semi-anti-vax. So she recognizes vaccines are important to prevent deadly diseases, but she's not comfortable with them being given to babies and doesn't trust a lot of newer vaccines. She has quit a good job she liked because they required the COVID vaccine. If I had a way to force her to take it and bypass her distrust, I'd seriously consider it. Still not sure if I'd actually do it though, because I can totally picture her making herself sick from the stress of worrying about what the vaccine might be doing to her. That's rough. That's
That is rough.
Definitely I haven't been through that myself in terms of I've always been pretty pro-vaccine and pro-COVID vaccine, but there's definitely a lot of people like in my work and things that were pretty resistant to getting the vaccine, and like kind of freaked out about, how new it was and all that kind of stuff. Fortunately, everyone just ended up doing it. No one quit over it. I thought there's a couple people that might. But yeah, I feel like especially just after seeing the effect of COVID, like in person on people, sometimes you don't get it bad, or most of the time people won't get it bad. But when you get it bad, it's like really fucking bad. So that I was just like, how do you see that and work in a hospital, not get the damn vaccine? But anyway, I know that it's hard. I know that fear is a really big factor on freezing people up to do things that are probably for their own good. That's rough.
Yeah, it is hard.
Hopefully she'll get past that fear, get some more proof that it's not so bad. I don't know. Anyway.
Zach Defense decided to answer the other question and talk about weird ads. First, they mentioned the mint ad that you mentioned, vividly describing a kiss, reminded me of this ad for fake nipples from my favorite episode of Game Changer.
And I'm really sad I haven't had a chance to click on that yet. But what a description.
There's a fun link on Reddit. Go check it out.
I will after this.
And then they say, as for real advertisements, the strongest reaction they've had to an ad was for Carnation Breakfast Essentials. So this was this was on Hulu when it was free with ads. And at one point, every single ad break they saw was the exact same ad for Carnation Breakfast Essentials. And this wasn't just like one episode. This was for weeks. They saw this ad dozens of times, and it got to the point where their friends joked that just saying the words Carnation Breakfast Essentials would make them rage. I swore that I would never buy Carnation Breakfast Essentials out of spite. But they actually never saw it in the store, so those ads were a failure either way. I'm sorry Hulu cursed you. That's rude.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm trying to, like, what isn't Carnation,
like
I feel like when I think
milk?
Of that, yeah, so like, what the hell is
all I think of.
What the hell is a breakfast essential? I don't think I've ever heard of that. Hold on. Oh, I'm going to Google it again. Let's see. All right. Nutritional drinks and powder. Ugh. Yeah, that doesn't sound like something that you know what? I think I have seen that in the store before, or at least it looks. No, I haven't. It just looks similar to like, I don't know, some other breakfasty thing I've seen because it's like yellow and, yeah. No, it's basically like a protein shake or some kind of a drink thing. No thanks, man. Kind of reminds me of Ensure, just looking at it. And which is great for people in the hospital, but no, I'm good. I'm good, bro. That does sound like really annoying. Like it's not even like an interesting thing to have an ad about, you know?
Yeah, no.
Like if you're gonna, at least if it's a breakfast item, at least pick something like, I don't know, Eggos, or I don't know, maybe Eggos is a bad example, but something more enticing or entertaining than
Lego my ego.
All right. Anyway, also on Reddit, Fleet Feathers, who is very nice and really liked our past episode, especially the Snow White story, and the pubic hair story. He liked that too. Said he was on a run and people were looking at him weird because he was like laughing and running, which is really good. So I'm glad you liked I'm really glad you liked it. So he says, I don't think I could betray my family. Closest to betrayal I've gotten is just checking out and getting out of the chaos and madness. When I'm home, I often act as a family therapist / facilitator, and it's exhausting. I've been learning to draw boundaries, and I suppose that is its own betrayal in a way. A healthy bit of mutiny. Well, but you got to do what's good for yourself, because if you are drowning because everyone's piling their crap on top of you, you're not going to be able to help them out anyway, right?
Right.
So I think that's really good. I'm glad that you're putting up some boundaries, and hopefully your family will start to get an actual therapist or somebody else to vent to. Yeah, I feel that in my soul. He also says, I can't think of super weird real life ads right now, but this prompt reminds me of the fictional ads in dystopian cyberpunk / hyper capitalist settings like Wall-E, where everything's covered in ads. Examples: too much garbage in your face? There's plenty of space out in space. B&L Starliners leaving each day. We'll clean up the mess while you're away. Like my ad voice, Malia?
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. All right. You want to try one?
Yeah.
All right.
The axiom: putting the star in executive Starliner. Because at BNL, space is the final frontier. That's pretty good.
By and large is your superstore. We've got all you need and so much more. Happiness is what we sell. That's why everyone loves BNL.
A is for axiom, your home sweet home. B is for by and large, your very best friend.
Your very best friend. That's kind of depressing. But that's so good. You know, I've seen Wall-E a few times and I just never noticed those ads, but yeah, it's pretty good. I like it.
It's really good.
It's really good. Yeah. Then he also says, I bet there's some weird creepy ad in the Paleverse that's gained enough momentum to become a Bug or something.
That reminds me of I think it was Bleg Tall. Let me double check. Yeah, posted something in the Discord. So there's this brand called No Name, and they just have big bright yellow
just like a yellow
labels,
background,
right, with this kind of soothing black font or whatever.
Soothing.
And I think it's soothing. Their ads are really funny and very memey. Their website is bright yellow and just says website, and their Twitter page also again just says Twitter page. My favorite probably is stairs for going up, and it's just really great.
Call that soothing, in my opinion. I think I'd say it's more it's entertainingly boring. You know, it's it looks boring, but it's you're
fun.
just it's designed like that, but it's funny. I don't know.
Yeah, and I feel that probably is bugga in real life. I can't remember how Wildbow says it's pronounced. I just know it's not bug.
The only thing I can be sure of is that I'm probably mispronouncing it, and that's something that we can all find reassuring in these troubled times.
Definitely.
Our new discussion question this week, I'm also a dual parter. It is, what minor character from Pale would you love to see in an interlude from, and why? And wish our mom a happy birthday!
Woo!
Yay!
She's working on reading the first half of Arc 5 of Pale, so hopefully we'll be releasing an episode sometime soonish.
Yeah, look, guys, we're gonna do our best. I have to say, when we started this with our Mom Critiques Wildbow, we expected it was going to be a lot shorter. So I don't know if our mom is going to be able to make it through to the end, but we're going to keep going until we can't anymore. But yeah, I feel like I have to put that out there somewhere because it is kind of a huge commitment now.
Yeah. Yeah. But she'd love to hear from y'all. She is bewildered when we
People
show her
actually
that
fans.
Yeah,
that's
think
really
she's
funny.
funny and stuff. So
yeah,
she
gets a kick out of it. So please wish her a happy birthday. That would be really, really great.
Yeah.
And we will share them with our mom, and she's going to be really happy. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a rating and review. To help support our podcast, go to patreon.com/doofmedia. And if you'd like to support Wildbow as he continues to write fantastic stories, go to patreon.com/wildbow.
You can follow the pod on Twitter at Pale Comparison or send us an email at paleincomparisonpod@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our Reddit thread in r/parahumans, where you can answer our discussion question and share your thoughts on this episode. In addition, if you would like to see all of my predictions laid out, check out our episode description for a link to a prediction tracker. Next episode, we will be covering chapters 12.1 and 12.2.
Yay!
Yay.
All right. This week's fun fact. The word computer was first used in 1613 in a book that I forgot to write down. It was used basically as a term to refer to a person who computes things. Then in 1869, it switched to just a machine before becoming the word for an electronic device in 1946.
1946 feels kind of early.
It does. It sure does.
Wow.
But that's what this website that I was reading from said. So I'm going to go with it.
It must be true.
It must be true. The internet never lies.
Mm-mm.
Never lies.
It's like a practitioner or an other.
Yeah.
It's sworn
Because
to the seal.
It's on a computer which computes things. So it has to be true, right?
Yep.
I just have to say, Malia, I'm excited for you to read the next part, even just to see the the title of the arc. Did you see it?
I think I did accidentally see it, but I can't remember what it is, so
It's
I don't think
okay.
I retained it.
You're about to read it probably as soon as I get off this call. So I'm just going to tell you, and just to hear initial thoughts, it's duress.
Oh my god. Well, that's an affirmative defense that you can raise in various tort and criminal situations.
I mean, I don't know why I didn't expect the first thing out of your mouth to be a law thing, but I should have, just realized that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, who's going to be under duress? Probably most people.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like that sets a tone,
It's a tone.
It's a tone. Like, who knows? I mean, I say who knows, but I feel like, well,
we
kind of know. I do. At least somewhat,
Fun.
All right. Well, that was a fun recording. Thank you all for listening, and we will be back next week unless some shit happens, and then we'll be back sometime after that. But probably next week.
Yeah, I have this thing now where I try not to say inaccurate things because the practice, and that felt like a moment where you were like, maybe we won't be back. You gotta cover your ass.
No, I tend to, it's not even a practice thing. I tend to be really truthful about things, almost to a fault, to where people, I mean, not all the time, but where it's most people would tell a white lie or something. I'll kind of be like, no, wait, I think it actually was blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I'm not giving a good example, but just take my word for it. I'm very truthful sometimes when it's kind of awkward and throws off the conversation. And I could just drop it.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that means, then that's cool, because it's 10:30 at night right now, and I don't think I want to explain anymore.
It's bedtime.
It's bedtime. It's bedtime. So, all right. Well, have a good night, or good morning, or good afternoon.
Have a good run.
Or good tea time.
And a
good nap.
Drive. And a good
what else do people do?
Session. Good cleaning session.
A good
Have
camping
a good
trip.
Camping trip. Yeah.
Yeah. That's normal.
Have a good Tuesday.
Have a good year.
Yeah.
Why was that my next thing? I don't know. It's because it's 10:30 at night, which feels like I'm really fucking old to be tired, because it's like, it's 10:30. I need to go and get my sleepy time so I can think. I don't know what kind of, whatever. I mean, you know what? I need to stop talking because, like, it just keeps getting worse. It's like that one time where I was, like, really fucking tired after work, and I just kept talking. And, like, the more tired I get, the more shit just comes out of my mouth, you know?
Yeah.
Just, which is hopefully entertaining for a podcast, but, like, you know, I just can't stop talking. Okay, Malia, you just need to shut this off. Just, like, cut it off. Just kill it dead. Just